for love. Be forever, gave me joy, like I've been born again.
Good afternoon, good people. My name is Steve Lewis, and it is truly a pleasure to be standing here speaking to you for a few minutes. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Edwards and my homegirl Shayna Brunson for giving me this opportunity. And it's a very unique opportunity because I just want to share with you briefly about my family. I happen to be born into a family, or I should say I was blessed to be born into the Lewis family that produced three males that went on to be a part of the very successful R&B pop group Atlantic Starr. Two of my brothers are still in the group, and one of my brothers is actually doing a music ministry now, him and his wife. But the interesting part of it, growing up and seeing this actually develop before my eyes. Now I was very young. I was younger than I'm the youngest of the Lewis brothers, so I had an interesting perspective. The Atlantic Starr was formed from two groups, and they all went to the same high school. We grew up together in a little town called Greenburgh. Shayna's from Greenburgh as well. And a group of friends, got together. They were interested in music. They listened to all genres of music, which was very unique for that time. And in the cafeteria of our high school, they formed a group called New Band. The guys got together, and they had they played in clubs in the city, and stuff, and they started to get really, really good. Now, the brothers that are closest to me, they had formed a group also called Unchained Youth. So when New Band went out to California to seek a record deal, my oldest brother Jonathan called for my two other brothers, Wayne and David, and they went out to LA, and collectively with New Band and my brothers, they formed Atlantic Starr. They did the traditional going around to record companies. They had a manager and a business manager, and they went around to record companies and canvassed their music, and they played the club date. They were picked up by A&M Records, where they did their first album, and I think it was 1978, because I remember being a junior in high school when their first album came out. And from that point on, it was quite a ride. When I was younger, I used to follow them around the country to different shows when it was in driving distance. The family would meet up with them. And as I got older, I started doing some road managing with them. So we did an Asian tour. We did several cities in Japan, and then we did several cities in Indonesia. And then myself and my oldest brother Jonathan formed a management company where we were managing new artists, and we were trying to break them into the music industry. Now, the music industry is a lot different now than it was then, because when we were managing groups, it was a little more difficult. Even though Atlantic Starr was a very successful group, the industry had started to transition from artist development to the record companies didn't want to really spend any money on developing artists. You had to come to them with a full, complete package. So we had a studio in Mount Vernon, and we had a few artists that we were working with. But it didn't work out like we really would have liked it to work out. But all during that time, Atlantic Starr was still very popular. They were touring, they were doing albums. I think in total they did maybe about 13, 14 albums. And they had some great hits on those albums. Several hits that were on the top 10 pop charts. A lot of groups now are doing a lot of that, doing their own music, and then instead of going to the record companies, they're going directly to social media if they have a large social media following. So that has changed in the industry a lot. So to answer that particular question, my advice to a young artist, if you're trying to break into the music industry, is number one, hone, work, develop your craft. Develop your craft. Get good, excellent at what you do. Get excellent at what you do. And then you can put your stuff on Apple Music and Spotify and all of these streaming services, and you get paid for streams. So very, very different industry now in terms of the music industry. But like I said, most importantly, you gotta really work at it. It's more who you know than what you know, sadly, in the music industry. But a lot of groups now are bypassing the record companies, and they're doing stuff independently and on their own. So I'm going to wrap up. And again, I thank you, Mr. Edwards, and I thank you, Shayna, for giving me this unique opportunity to just kind of share a little bit about what it is that I do, introduce you to my family. Atlantic Star has had a great amount of success. They've always kept, on top of their game in terms of their music. They always stayed true to the love and the relationships, and now even the inspiration in their music. They have a new album out called Metamorphosis, and they did it independently. So that's out now, and you can get that on the streaming platforms as well. So again, thank you for these few minutes. Happy Black History Month. I hope I wasn't rambling, and I hope I gave you some information that you can use, because that is what I aspire to do every single day. I aspire to give someone a nugget of information that they can use in their everyday life. So again, God bless you. Thank you, and peace. Thank you for this opportunity.